Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Caregiving and Entrepreneurship Reimagine podcast. I am your caregiver and business coach and host, Melissa Miller. And today, y'all, I have another good episode for you with my special guest, Marianne Hickman. She is a busy mom of five. She's a public speaker, coach, business owner, all the things. And I just really wanted to have her come on and speak about mindset because I know, yes, I am passionate about helping you as a caregiver coach, help you learn how to be a caregiver while you're running your business and pursuing your entrepreneurial goals. But I think with it being January and a new year, I really wanted to also just kind of give you a little extra pep talk in terms of just going with the flow and the journey of being an entrepreneur because every year brings new challenges and every year we progress and get closer to those challenges or to those goals. But we do encounter new challenges. So I asked Marianne to come on and just help share some little tidbits about entrepreneurship and mindset because let's face it, our brains like to tell us really nasty stories and unhealthy truths. And I want you heading into this first quarter with a clear mindset and just realizing and reconnecting with that passion that you had long before your loved one got sick, that you are still an entrepreneur and you have an important role to play with your clients for one, but two, you remember you got into this business because God, the universe, whatever you choose to believe, laid something on your heart for a reason. Okay. So it's time to reconnect with that. It can get so lost, I think, when we're, crunching the numbers and we're just so tunnel vision, like we have to make this work. But reality check, guys, we got into this because we are passionate about something, X, Y, and Z. And we want to help others bring that out of other people in a positive light. So, Marianne, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you, Melissa, for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, it's an honor to have you. So obviously, a lot of my listeners may not be acquainted with your work and your story. So could you share a little bit about that with us, please?
Yeah, you bet. So I actually had my sixth baby in 2022. He'll be 3 this year. So yeah, first and foremost, I'm a mom, and then I'm a wife, and I'm me. All of those things. And then by the next thing is entrepreneurship, right? I think that's so easy for us as entrepreneurs to blur those lines in an unhealthy way. I think blurring the lines in a healthy way is actually really good. I love having my kids as part of my business. And even just now, my 2-year-old's upstairs and he's clinging to me. He's like, "Mommy, I miss you." And I was just so full of gratitude that I didn't have to go clock in for somebody else, at that same time. So finding the harmony, not balance, I don't believe in balance, but the harmony of home and family and business and serving others has become beautifully melded for me. Not that I don't have challenges still. And then my primary focus is helping entrepreneurs get on stage and take their business in front of audiences, whether that's digitally like this right here on a podcast or physically on stages, and learning how to communicate, learning how to share their message, enroll in the vision. And the best part, my favorite part, is after the struggle, the initial year of struggle of consistency and hard work and all of that. And then we start to see people like, "Oh my gosh, I got another paid client. Oh my gosh, I got this people enrolled and I got bookings and all this stuff." And this beauty of, wow, what I enjoy doing and what I love can actually make me money because it's blessing other people. When that moment finally clicks, that's the moment I shoot for everyone I work with. And that's why I love what you're doing, because it is such an amalgam of I'm caring for others, I'm caring for myself, and I'm also, not just caring for others in a healthy, a health-centered way, but also caring for others in an entrepreneurship way. That's what entrepreneurship is. Whenever we start a business, it's because we care for other people and we want to see results for other people. That's businesses that thrive anyway.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what you said about, the multiple roles and how you actually shared for you the order of what is important to you. Family's important. We have so many roles as moms. I'm a mom too. I have a almost 6-year-old. She turned 6 in like a week. And I'm like, I'm so
Oh,
not ready.
wow.
Yeah, and then I'm a caregiver for a spouse that is chronically ill. I have chronic illnesses of my own. But then there's any other number of, roles and hats that we can put on. So regardless of what those roles are for you, remember that your business is an outlet of yours, but remember that it's not the only role that you have. Other roles matter. And I like that you use the word. I've normally used the word balance and how I share my business, but I do like the word harmony. That is really good, of harmony, of that it doesn't have to be um, one or the other. And I agree with you. I love work being home and not having to clock in for anybody else and working my schedule how I want to work around. If something happens like yesterday, I actually didn't work much that yesterday because my husband had some health issues. And so being able to just pause and know the work will still be there when I come back was
Yep.
lovely. Instead of having to be in that stressful situation from being a former healthcare worker, I would have to call in within X amount of time of my shift to give them time to find a replacement for me. And also just, dealing with the guilt trip of other coworkers, when they're mad that now they have to work short. So, and then like, oh no, the loss of a paycheck or whatever. So anyway,
Oh, yeah, all
it's
that.
nice it's nice not to have to deal with that. But then again, being a solo entrepreneur where, it is your business and lots of you I know are just a solopreneur, one person, if you don't work or if you don't have things set up on autopilot to where you're getting that passive income, you don't get a paycheck. So then it's even
Yeah.
more stressful. So there's give and take with both things, but I think it's important to remember of just really remember why you got into solopreneurship. It is to prioritize more time with your family. It is to be home. That was definitely the reason I got into it, because I couldn't find anything working traditionally in another workplace that would give me the flexibility to just drop everything and take a lot of time off as is needed with having a child that's so small still and having a husband that has a very unpredictable illness that can just change in the
Mm.
in a off a dime. So it's so important to remember why you got into this. And as you're thinking about that, I want you to think about for this new year, reconnect with your why,
Yep.
but then also think about your goals. How do you want to get to your next goal? And how can you do it with, like Marianne said, more harmony to where you're meeting the needs. So, like, obviously for this audience, we're meeting the needs of first and foremost of ourselves. It does start with us. I'm spinning it backwards. It all starts with you. If you don't take care of your mind, your body, and your soul, you're no good to yourself. You're no good to your husband or your children. You're no good to the loved one you're caring for, whether it's a spouse, a kid, or an aunt or grandparent or aging parent, whatever, and your clients. And so it all starts with you. So how can you bring more harmony into that, into your journey this year, this quarter? For like I said, as the time of recording this, it's January 7th. So we're not that far into the Q1. How can we bring in more harmony? So with that being said, Marianne, what are your takes on how we could just, it's a fresh year, it's a new quarter, and we're obviously probably in a different season for a lot of us. We might be in some different seasons with our children maybe getting older, or maybe for getting older ourselves and having some health challenges, or maybe our loved one we're caring for is having more challenges, or maybe the business, it's more the business where it's growing and we
Yep.
need to kind of maybe revamp and kind of really think about, do I need to bring on a team member? Do I need to really make a choice about what avenues of my business I want to focus on that are that actually bring me joy and that are also going to give me the most ROI, and also are going to help me reach the goal end result that I have in mind. So what are your thoughts on those things?
Well, and there's a couple things that I think of, and I remember feeling so. I know what it's like to feel out of harmony. Have you ever been to a brand new band concert where there's brand new students playing? Right, and it's a little bit squeaky, and they don't quite come in at the right time, and it's kinda my daughter's in band, and I would tell this to her, and she knows it to be very true, but her first concerts, they were hard. They were hard to listen to. The music was introductory music, and even when you practice, when it's time to play on stage, and it's almost like you wanna film it and show it to your friends because it's that bad. It's laughably bad. But even then, that we've been trying so hard as band students. She was working so hard. She was practicing in the basement every day. Well, sometimes every day. She was supposed to practice every day, but it just there's so much work that goes into that production. And even when the production, your very, very, very first production is not great. And you're going to get better if you keep going. But a lot of us, we will judge ourselves on that first production and say, oh, look, I'm no good, I should quit, or whatever it is. When there's so many reasons that that's not true. I was talking to a friend of mine last night about a 30-day or 90-day challenge that she launched. And she was very excited to launch it. She's like, it's going to help so many people and rock on. And as no surprise, so those of us that are entrepreneurs, the first go of it didn't go as she hoped it would. She hoped more people would sign up. She hoped more people would be on the call. And of course, that's the way it went. And I thought in my mind, I said, how dare we as entrepreneurs expect that it would go perfectly the first time? How dare we expect that? Right. And when it comes back to this band concert, I'm sitting there in the chairs, the velvet under my fingertips is a little crusty from the kid who put snot on it the night before, right? And I'm listening to this, and I'm listening, and of course, we as coaches, we make life lessons out of everything. The trumpets are having their turn, and the bassoons are having their turn, and the woodwinds are having their turn, and the conductor's up there conducting it all. And I think about this in terms of the harmony that we want to have in life. When we want to have harmony, we can't always let all the instruments play all the time. Sometimes the trumpets have their moment, and the drums play louder, and all the other sections have their moments. Maybe the other sections aren't playing, but maybe they're just a supporting role, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, we are the composers of the music, and we are the conductors of the symphony. And we just have to ask ourselves, what song do I want to hear? Do I like this music? Do I not like this music? And what do I need to change in order to first like the music and then execute playing the music well? And when I think of harmony, it means for me, the most important part of my music is my family. And those things get scheduled on the calendar first, which means the concerts they attend for my daughter, those go on the calendar, and then my other things get scheduled around it. When it's time for a track meet, that comes first. When it's time to do, church, which is important for our family, that goes on the schedule, and nothing else gets that spot. When it's time for date night, nothing else gets that time, because that's the main part of my music. That's the part of the music I enjoy most. Then the next most important things comes in. My calls with my clients, those get scheduled next, because those are the next most important things. My one-on-ones, the ways that I help other people besides my family, those get scheduled next. And then I block off free time. I have a couple of hours of intentional free time every day, so that whatever pops up, let's just say I make a really cool connection, I need to connect with them within a couple days. Well, I need some time available in the next couple of days to do that. So I intentionally block off time for inspiration or free time. And the one thing I didn't mention that I block off before any of that is time for me. I have between 7:30 and 8 a.m. Nobody gets to interrupt me. Nobody gets to talk to me. Not even my husband. Like that's my free time. Now, I wish I was like perfect at that every day, but I allow flexibility to let, if the priority jumps in, I allow that to jump in. I don't get hung up about it. But on my best days, that's how it goes. And that is like putting notes on a sheet of music. I know what key it's in. I know what notes are playing. I know what instruments are playing those notes. So I enjoy the music more often than I don't. And I'm not going to say all of the time, because there are parts, if you've ever listened to music, there's parts of music you're like, oh, that's a tension piece. That's the piece that's like building up to the climax. I love the piece in How to Train Your Dragon. I don't know if you've heard this song, but it's like the first flight, right? And he's like falling out of the sky, and it's like tense and troublesome. And then the dragon catch up in them, and it's beautiful. And that's the way, speaking of mindset, that I think of my life. I've come to think of my life. When those moments of like, I don't know how I'm going to make next month's rent. That's just the tension building up to the climax. As long as you keep playing the music. Imagine if we turned it off during the sucky part, or we gave up. In other words, what if you closed your business because your webinar didn't go well? What if you closed your business because you had one challenge that didn't work out? Or what if you closed your business because you fell on your face, or your podcast dropped, or whatever it is? What if we gave up during that? No one writes stories about that. No one shares music that ends at the hard part. They share music that comes through the chaos and the struggle. And the better that you can just ride it. We don't run from fear. We put a saddle on it and ride that sucker. And we just go through the crappy show rate, and we go through the the conflict and the challenge, and we go through the canceled appointments, and we go through the times when we don't know how we're going to make ends meet, and we're just praying for a miracle, and we go through the health challenges, and watch, because at some point the universe freaking owes you. At some point you pay your dues enough to where the universe owes you. I had a client, or a guest on my podcast yesterday. His name is Hunter, and he had half his leg blown off in a hunting accident a year ago. He's still in the middle of it, right? That morning, he's like, I'm still experiencing fevers. I'm still going through adapting to this and infections, but he showed up to the podcast anyway. And he said, I asked him, why keep going? You're still in the middle of healing from this. What makes you keep going? And ultimately he said, the universe owes me. If I'm going to be put through a lesson this hard, if I have to sacrifice a limb of my body, then boy, I can't wait for what comes on the other side, because I know I'm owed it. You can think of it in a spiritual way, like the cosmic debt, or a religious thing, if you're tied to a religion, or if a religion supports you in that. But it's also a law of physics. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, which means if you had to sacrifice something that hurts big time, you better bet on that being made up to you, equal or even more than what you lost, because it's a law of the universe.
Right. And I love that analogy with music. I remember I played the flute for several years. I
Oh,
did
did
fifth and
you?
sixth grade. I played fifth and sixth grade. I did flute in fifth and sixth grade band. Then junior high band, seventh and eighth, and then um senior or ninth through 12th, we didn't, the school I particularly went to, we had a jazz band, but we didn't have a traditional band. So I dropped it after that because I was playing basketball and pursuing some other things, but I still sang in the choir. But no, I totally resonate with that analogy of, yeah, you get your instrument, you're so excited. The first time you play, it sounds horrible. It
It's
does,
true.
because even and you practice. I mean, forgive me. I also tried. I wanted to play the piano like my mother, because she was the pianist for every church that my father pastored at, and he pastored for 33 years, and we pastored at
Wow.
several churches and during his ministry. Um, but she was very diligent and she practiced. I was terrible. I would not practice, and after the first year, we were like, forget it. And plus, we moved, so we never got me another piano teacher in the chaos of us moving from a different state.
Hmm.
But that's okay. I still went hardcore with the flute and choir. It wasn't a total loss, but yeah, even there's that harmony though of, you have to put in the work, but you also have to also expect that, okay, I put in the work, but the first time that I try it, like I first time I play that piece with the rest of the bandmates, doesn't mean, even though I've put in the work and I've done my due diligence, it doesn't mean that it's going to be perfectly coordinated with the rest of the band, because you have to have harmony with the rest of your bandmates, right?
Yep.
And the same thing is true. I just had a launch for a new offer in December. Did it go the way I anticipated? No, but I did get some engagement, and it has me motivated and committed to keep launching it every month for this year, because I know I will get there. And the only way that I get my skills is if I do it a lot, if I flop a lot, because that's how
Yep.
you get the skills, and you figure out, okay, this is working, but I need to just tweak it a little bit this way, or I need to tweak that. And same thing, we could just continue with the analogy of a band. Okay, trombone section, you're sounding good, but could you be a little softer, because you're totally overtaking the windwood section. Because I'm trying to hear more of them. And drums, you have it, but you're a little off on your beat. Can we hear just a little? Can you slow it down just a little bit? And if everyone kind of just listens a little bit to kind of the little nudges,
Hmm.
just like
Hmm.
as an entrepreneur, we're paying attention to the numbers with like emails and what kind of, and maybe social media, or our podcast, and feedback, the feedback we're getting, like in comments or email replies, um how you have the wording on the landing page. I mean, there's so many different elements and
Yeah.
factors that go into how something works. Okay.
Yeah. No,
uh,
exactly.
exactly. And so, but yeah, if you're just kind of like the band director, where you're kind of in front of everything, and we're kind of the director with our businesses, if we're just really keeping in there and listening to every little piece, and we do start making little tweaks here and there to bring in more harmony, it will work. Now, it might take quite a few tries,
Well, of course it is. And then we're going to
That's
nail it. And we're like, oh, that wasn't
okay.
like, I'm still hungry.
As you keep going, yeah, yeah, yes, it keeps going. It'll keep getting better the more and more you stick with it. Now, is it always going to be fun? Are you always going to have a positive mindset? No, but that's why it's important to keep going. That's why it's important to keep going and to not give up. Okay. You have to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a friend of mine, I don't know if you've heard of Joseph McClendon, but he was Tony Robbins' MC for quite a while. Amazing guy. And
Mm.
he said something that really just, it's one of those phrases that you're like, oh, that just got tattooed on my heart. I am gonna remember that one. He said, we as human beings never rise to the occasion. That's a lofty thing. You know, we think that we will, and lots of inspiring stories about rising to the occasion. But if you really look at the stories, it's never about rising to the occasion. That doesn't happen. It violates the laws of the universe. We don't ever rise to the occasion. What we do is fall to our highest level of preparedness. We always fall to our highest level of preparedness, which is why I ask myself all the time, well, what's my baseline? What is my highest level of preparedness? When something flops and it sucks, I learn what my baseline is. I remember we had a webinar. We've done this a couple times. We've been testing a webinar and we put it out once and we got 30 people there and very excited, no sales. And so we're like, okay, now we have one data point, but that's not enough data points for me to make an adjustment. I need another one. So we did another webinar. We didn't really change much, right? We're just like, okay, maybe that one was a fluke. Let's do the same time of the week, same day, same content, same marketing spend, ad spend to get there. We got 30 more people there. Right? So we're like, okay, consistent so far, no sales. Okay, well, let's try it again. Now we have 60 data points of 60 attendees. I want to get an even 100 so we have an even percentage, right? So let's do it again. Same thing, same time, same content, same ad spend, same everything, same pitch, same offer, nothing. So we're like, okay, we have 100 attendees based over 3 weeks, same time of day, same day of the week, and nothing sold. Now we have enough data to say, all right, let's change something drastic here. But the question is, how did I feel after 3? I'm falling on my face down the mountain, boom, boom, boom. The only failure is like that I'm on a downhill slope that's like moving forward downward like a ski hill, right? Falling on my face, boom, boom, boom. The question is, when you get smacked in the face so hard, what is your response? You're going to learn your baseline really quick. Now, prior to all of the mental gym that I've been to, the mindset training, if you will, that would have been a punch enough to the gut where I was like, man, do I even have something valuable? Do I have something to offer the planet? Am I even good at what I do? Do I have any legitimacy? Am I just an imposter? Blah, blah, blah. I've been through all of that and I've learned enough to just say, go back to hell where you came from. Thoughts? Because you don't have any place here. The baseline now is like, okay, what are we learning? Let's look at the music. Let's look at the data. Let's understand and then make a shift, maybe a dramatic one since we have enough data to justify it. But I mean, that wasn't always the case. Being good at that comes from sucking at it long enough that you're sick and tired of feeling that way. When I first started my entrepreneurial journey, I gave up and then I got a job and I worked for somebody else because I succumbed to the ideas of imposter syndrome and I had to pay my dues at that job long enough to where it got painful. And then I left and we parted ways and I promised never to go back. But when I abandoned my first shot on entrepreneurship, my first company was called Breaking Chains Now. I was trying to help people heal from, the chaos of addiction as a wife who was married to someone with an addiction. And I just, oh man, I got to the point. I remember doing a Facebook Live where I was, oh my gosh, I look back at that and I cringe. I was so desperate and I was so worn down and it repelled clients. It pushed people away. And then it was just this downward spiral of, okay, we're struggling. I've got to go get a job because I know I can do that. So my highest level of preparedness was, I know I can work for somebody else and get paid. So that's what I fell to. Now my highest level of preparedness is, girl, come hell or high water, we're going to figure this out because I have a responsibility. My family's depending on me. My future self is depending on me. So whatever failure I experience when I'm at my highest level of preparedness now is like, okay, ouch, that sucked. How do we not do that again?
I love it. I love it. And, preparedness, it can seem like that can bring some anxiety, but I think it can actually bring some comfort because when we're prepared, it goes to what I teach my clients with being prepared with your loved one's medical history and keeping it updated. So if God forbid you have to call 911, you are you have everything at your fingertips of what
Yeah.
their illness is, like, the basics, date of birth, obviously, and allergies, medications, all their doctors, everything. You're not, because when you're in the heat of the moment, when you're in a stressful situation that's unexpected, you can't think clearly. And so the
No.
last thing you want to do is trying to recall everything and remember everything. And girl, you're not going to. So having your medical history binder and keeping up on it diligently, daily, weekly, monthly, and going in and adding and editing and changing information so it's the most accurate document so you can then share it with doctors, share it with EMTs, share it and just even access it when you're at a medical appointment so you can take notes and keep it active. That's the same thing. Same thing with your business. Keep trying, keep you have to keep trying, keep paying your dues and putting your work in, but and taking the notes, looking at your stats, documenting what happens with each subsequent launch so you get the data and the information you need about, okay, what can we do differently? What is working? And we'll keep running with it. What do we need to ditch? What do we feel like might be the right? We're kind of unsure, and maybe we need to test A and B to see like which is better. And if it flops, it's going to probably be a little bit of an ouch, but either I love what my business coach, shout out to Faith Mariah, I love you, girl. It's going to either give you the lesson that you need in the heat of the moment, or you're going to get the outcome that you desire. Now, but bear in mind, again, as entrepreneurs, especially if it is something that's brand new out the gate, be braced for not going the way you want, and just have those big girl pants on and be able to take it and go, okay, it didn't work how I thought it would be, but I still did it. So pat on the back there, thumbs up.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then, okay, now let's put our brain to work about, okay, what can we do next to make it better? So like, like Marianne was sharing with her webinar. Okay, they kept launching that sucker, same date, same time, same content. And then once, and she was thinking, but she was thinking in her head with the numbers of like, okay, I want to get to a certain amount to where I have as much data from at least the attendees to start with. And then from there, it's like, okay, I got all these people, but no sales. Okay, now I can have enough. I have some more data and information. I can go to the next step and start tweaking something else. So
Yep.
you have to keep trying. Like I have learned so much more. Like my first business that my first business was more targeting family caregivers.
Hmm.
And I had a program I launched for a year and a half. Again, no sales. But when I switched and revamped my business last May, I have been feeling so much better because I'm actually getting somewhere. Now, when I'm launching something, I'm actually getting some traction. I'm actually getting some clicks. I've gotten a few replies. Sales yet? No, but I'm going to keep rinsing and repeating and figuring it out. So flopping can be better. It can be better. My framework came out of that launch, that first business of launching it. I came up with my prompt framework, which I transitioned into this business. So, um, it's okay to flop. Flopping is how we learn. If we're not robots, we're not supposed to get everything right and be perfect all the time. We're human beings and human bodies with emotions, and we're going to make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes are the best thing that we can do because then we get the
Hmm.
clarity. We're like, holy cow, hindsight 22. I'm kicking myself. Why didn't I think of that? But no, but thank you, God, for that, for this lesson, because now I have clarity about where I do need to go and what does work. And so I'm committed and I'm ready to move forward in the next thing. So do not kick yourself when you flop. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flopping
Don't
is
bother with
good.
that.
Don't bother with that. Kicking yourself is a waste of time. It leaks your energy, and it's not going to serve you in actually being able to put that brain to work of going, like Marianne was saying with your baseline, getting lost in that fun in that rabbit hole of kicking yourself and second guessing yourself is not going to help you get the outcome that you want. It's not going to move you forward. It's actually going to draw you back. So Marianne, what is one thought that you would like to leave our listeners as some motivation. And it could be maybe something that you've learned in your own journey, maybe something we talked about today. But what is one thing that you would kind of you would like to leave with our listeners as kind of like a pep talk as we clear out here?
Yeah. No, so I want to share a story, a brief story as a thought. And the reason I share this is because I've used this story that's developed into a tool for me. So there's a story about a guy who saved up. He was a really poor guy, saved up every extra dime that he had, every extra dollar he had, because he wanted to go on a cruise, right? So he buys this cruise ticket, and this dude is like, I scrimped, saved, borrowed, and I got enough money. I've got the ticket, so but that's all I could afford. I just got the ticket, and now I'm on the boat. So I'm like packing all my food with me, and I'm going on the ship, and I'm in the cabins, and I'm enjoying myself, and I'm out on deck, and then when excursions happen, people go into the excursion. I'm not going because I didn't pay for extra excursions, and I got my can of beans and I'm eating it in my cabin because I didn't pay for the meals and all this stuff. And toward the end of the cruise, the captain, he sees him and he's like, "Well, hey, so I haven't seen you on any of the excursions. I haven't seen you at dinner. I haven't seen you at the activities." And the guy's like, "Well, I just bought the ticket. I didn't have enough to pay for the extra stuff. My goal was just to get on the ship, and I got here, and that's great." And the captain said, "Well, all of that was included with your ticket, right? The excursions were included. That was part of the price you paid. That would the meals, they were included. That was part of the price you paid." And the lesson is that we are often living beneath our privilege because we self-impose these limits on ourselves. When I heard that story, immediately I literally got a vision board, literally on my wall, right? And I started printing things off of the internet and cutting things out of magazines back when magazines were a thing. And I stuck them on my board, and I looked at them, and I dedicated myself to them. And then I watched as I started to pull those things off. And I only pulled them off when I got them. I put a washer and dryer on that vision board. I desperately wanted a front loading washer and dryer on that vision board. And I remember the day that I pulled it off, and I wrote the date on the back that I got it. And I was like, holy crap, this works. And so I started getting ambitious and putting other stuff on there and asking myself, what did I enroll in this life to do that I've been denying myself because I didn't think it was included? And I put those things on there. And this is a practice that I still do. I don't have the square vision board anymore. I do it digitally, but I have a binder this thick of papers that I pulled off my vision board because I wished for it, I dreamed for it, I worked for it, I failed for it, paid the tuition, in other words, and then I got it. So my final thought, if I were to leave it with anyone, is one, dream a little bigger, and two, plan on it, because if you dedicate yourself to it, it's inevitable.
I love that. Yeah, and it's okay to dream. That's the fun part about entrepreneurship is that we get to dream of how we want to change the world, right? As
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, we are, we might have, obviously Marianne and I are different niches. I'm targeting helping with healthcare, more healthcare, caregiving type side, and she's more mindset and speaking and actually getting on stage to share your passion. But in both cases, we have to dream a little bit about how we want to do it. I'm sure Marianne could not have imagined where she'd be at if you asked her
Oh,
like 10 years
we
ago.
all pray
You know,
for where we're at today, don't we?
yeah, exactly. And I couldn't imagine, I'm a former healthcare worker. I did healthcare for 15 years, and I personally cared for loved ones who have, some have gone on to heaven, but I could not in imagine years ever whole imagined I would be speaking and hosting a podcast. I listen to podcasts and listen to artists. Me do my own content? Heck no. You're crazy. You're crazy. That's like, what planet are you from? But here I am. And
Mhm.
I am so thankful I have this opportunity to share and meet with all different types of people from all over the world. I've had people I've talked with so from all walks of life, different faiths, different countries, cultures. It's been a blast and an honor and a privilege to talk with people and to hear their stories. And especially since right now I don't have the to go over internet trip. It's been so fun to still meet people from some of the places I want to go one day. It's so awesome. So anyway, Marianne, where can we find more of you if people are interested in learning more about your work and your story and your passion? Where's the best ways people can connect with more Marianne?
Yeah. So I'm all over the internet. My favorite place to connect with people is on Instagram. It's at Marianne_Hickman. I think I'm the only Marianne Hickman on there. But we can hang out there. And, I've got lots of goodies and lots of tools for people to get on stages, regardless of your passion, whether it's healthcare, whether it's nursing, whether it's inventing machines. It doesn't matter what you do if nobody knows what you do. So that's what my mission is, to put a million people, help you get on a million stages and make $1 billion doing it. So if that's part of your mission too, that's where we get to hang out.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Marianne. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest on the Caregiving and Entrepreneurship Reimagine podcast. And for those of you listening, be sure wherever you're watching, whether it's my blog, my YouTube channel, Spotify, or Apple, be sure to look in the description below to access Marianne's contact information and her free gift, and just listen and be listening on the Caregiving and Entrepreneurship Reimagine podcast for more updates about what's coming up for this amazing year. I am so excited about the content I have coming. And as always, if you are in a season where you're a new caregiver, or maybe you've been a caregiver for a while, but you're done with feeling like you're chasing your tail with managing your loved one's medical history information, definitely check out details also below for my 911 Blueprint response calls. These are just simple 1 hour calls where we meet on Google Meet, and I help you create a customizable Google medical history doc that you can easily edit and then share, and just continue and share with other members of your caregiving team, and also, just more importantly, just access on a daily basis as you're caring for your loved one. So details for that will also be linked below. And I will see you again for another episode of the Caregiving and Entrepreneurship Reimagine podcast soon. Take care, guys.